Breaking news, everybody. A study was just published this past month in Nature Human Behavior that found that conservatives hate science. Can you believe it? This news comes as a huge shock to everyone who has spent the past several decades not being born yet. The researchers told the Associated Press that they hope that this finding helps kickstart their next project, determining the specific biomes where bears shit. Okay. Sorry, everyone. I've been wanting to make a video about the current Republican war on science, but every time I sit down to say anything about it, there are 1,000 new aspects to it. And to be honest, I really need another vacation because the good vibes have run out from the one I just took like 3 months ago. Anyway, I'll stop being mean about this study because it's not just about how conservatives hate science. It's not even just that they distrust science, even though that is the headline of the press release for this study. The researchers actually found several interesting and more depressing aspects to this conservative personality trait that we already knew about. For instance, we've known for decades that conservatives hate science that contradicts their worldview, which, is most of all of science. Conservatives are more likely to reject evolution, thanks to being taught from an early age that dinosaur bones were planted in the earth by Satan to trick us. They reject cosmology because they were taught that a magical ferryman made everything in the universe in 6 days, even though making days is literally one of the things he had to do. And they hate climatology because a bunch of oil companies paid Rush Limbaugh to tell them that everything is fine and the world is not getting warmer. And even if it is, it's not our fault. And even if it is our fault, it's actually good because don't you like going to the beach and sitting by the sea on warm days? Well, now the warm days extend well into October and the sea is coming to you. But this particular study showed that the Republican plan to politicize all of science has had even greater success than anyone thought, because conservatives don't even trust the science that does conform to their worldview. In a survey of nearly 8,000 Americans, conservatives distrusted every one of 35 different scientific professions they were asked about, including fields like industrial chemistry, because now, after decades of propaganda, they believe that all of science, even the fields that conservatives used to like, all of science is a leftist hobby and that universities are havens of left-wing bias that are churning out these untrustworthy lib scientists. But wait, there's more bad news. The researchers attempted several interventions to see if they could get the conservatives to budge on their viewpoint. Like they would profile prominent conservative scientists or discoveries that are in line with conservative values. And nothing worked. The distrust is now so deeply ingrained in conservatives' sense of self that it's going to take a heroic effort to get them to do so much as admit that maybe there's some value to knowing what the weather's going to be like tomorrow. This is just the inevitable result of decades of special interest groups getting more and more money and using that money to buy more and more power and then chiseling away at whoever is pointing out a reality that is inconvenient to that interest group. I've already mentioned big oil pushing propaganda about climate change, but there's also the gun lobby. Back in the 1990s, CDC-funded research showed that keeping a gun in the home increases a person's odds of being murdered by a close friend or family member. So the National Rifle Association responded by lobbying to completely eliminate the CDC department that funded that study. That led to the Dickey Amendment in 1996, which forbade the CDC from funding any research on the dangers of guns, which lasted for more than 20 years. And now, when Americans talk about the recent mass shooting, we have to clarify which one we're talking about. We literally have mass shootings at our memorials for mass shootings. It's not great. As Catherine J. Wu wrote in The Atlantic back in February, that Republican-backed legislation didn't just slow down research during those 2 decades. The impact was much, much worse because for 20 plus years, scientists were dissuaded from going into that field of research due to knowing that they would forever struggle to find any funding. People didn't want to be anywhere near the topic because any association with it could result in the loss of funding, even for research that wasn't directly related to firearms. And so when the amendment was finally lifted and funding began again in 2020, there was no one ready to restart that research. To make matters worse, these days, Trump isn't simply demanding that funding be revoked for those currently studying the topics that the special interest groups that control this administration are worried about, but he is actively disappearing research that's already been published. U.S. attorneys are sending letters to journal editors demanding to know if they accept competing viewpoints. And I'm not talking about social science journals here, or even those focused on sex and sexuality. I'm talking about CHEST, the official publication of the American College of Chest Physicians, who study things like, lung cancer. Sorry, chest physicians, but now you have to give equal time to my alternative theory that asthma is actually a psychosomatic illness children invent to get out of running laps in gym class. The even worse news is that there's a trove of research that isn't being protected by random journal editors. The U.S. government funds and also hosts a lot of studies on their own websites in order to ensure that those studies remain freely available, like this study that found that immigrants commit far fewer felonies than U.S. citizens, and undocumented immigrants especially. Probably because, they're undocumented and they would very much like to stay here. But if you try to view that study on the Department of Justice's website today, you can't. Nor can you read the helpful summary of it without using the Wayback Machine. If you try to visit the link where it was once hosted, you just get this notice reading, the Department of Justice's Office of Justice Programs is currently reviewing its websites and materials in accordance with recent executive orders and related guidance. During this review, some pages and publications will be unavailable. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. This, of course, comes directly beneath a large banner with the NIJ's slogan on it, advancing justice through science. That's just one of the many studies that people are beginning to realize have been conveniently memory holed from official government websites, forcing people to find them elsewhere or using archive.org. Blue Sky user @rtoller found examples of disappeared studies about countering violent extremism, violence in high schools, human trafficking, and community-based crime prevention. Unfortunately, we can expect the state of research in every field under attack by the Trump administration to resemble that of gun control following the Dickey Amendment, but much, much worse. This Trump administration, we're going to see the same result in every area that special interests have politicized. Gun control, climate change, birth control, abortion, women's health in general, HIV, AIDS, and of course, transgender care, just to name a few. If you are in college learning to research any of those things, don't bother doing it here in the United States. You'll probably end up starving to death in the gutter. Or being killed in a school shooting. One or the other. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.